guys, so today I have the China Glaze Spring 2018 collection. This is called the Chic Physique collection. There are 12 polishes here altogether. Okay, so the first 10 polishes from this collection I found on the Ulta website. I haven't looked today. I don't think that it's going to be any different right now. I'll check. But these were, sorry, I'm looking at the computer now. These were listed not in their own separate listing on the Ulta website, but they were actually just kind of mixed into the core colors. They were like the last 10 listed in the core colors because I'd been Googling by polish name to try to find these. Okay, now on the Ulta website, all 12 are listed as the Chic Physique collection. It says that they are online only $7.50. When I found these, I only was able to find the first 10 listed in the regular China Glaze core colors. Then I was able to find Werk It Honey, which is this yellow on the Sally's Beauty website. They had kind of random ones, some in stock, some said in store only, so you couldn't order the whole collection there either. And then Girl on the Glo was the only one I couldn't find, and ended up calling my local Sally's and actually left my house, which does not happen often, to get this because it was the only one that they had, the only one that they were going to get, and they set it aside for me. So that's my little journey for acquiring those, but now looking at the Ulta website, they're all there and they should be popping up other places pretty soon as well. So that out of the way, 12 polishes altogether, and I will get into the swatches. So the first polish is called Low Maintenance, and this is a, I don't know, slightly mauvey neutral color. So this one covers pretty well on that first coat. It is a little bit streaky and a little bit sheer. Not terrible though. And if my application is all over the place for the first couple of polishes, I just got done swatching the OPI Lisbon collection, so I'm adjusting here to a different brush. Those few streaks that are there do fade out and level out really well on their own, and really good formula on this one. This one does dry a bit more sheer than it applies, but it still covers completely in two. And make sure to watch that stem of the brush for drips, because I just had a huge drop on that first nail. And this one also dries very shiny. So that is 2 coats of Low Maintenance. The next polish is called Werk It Honey, and this is it's a pastel yellow, but I feel like it's just slightly more saturated than normal pastel yellows. So here is 1 coat, and prepare to be amazed here because this is one of the best performing yellows I think I've ever used ever. And it's, well, at least from a mainstream brand. And it's a pastel, which usually are even worse than your average yellow, but it's very, very minimal streaks, levels itself out pretty nicely, really good formula. I mean, it still needs 2 coats because it's yellow, but usually pastel yellows are so difficult to work with, just so annoying to put on, and this one's really good. So this one actually does cover completely in 2 coats. I do think depending on your application you might need 3, but I'm good with this in 2. It does dry a little bit more sheer than it applies, so that first coat was a little bit more in need of a second coat after it was fully dry. But overall, I am just super impressed with this polish. It performs so well for being a light yellow. So that is 2 coats of Werk It Honey. The next polish is called Pretty Fit, and this is a kind of medium dusty pink. So this one also covers pretty well on that first coat, just a little bit sheer. And I am having to knock a little bit of polish back into the bottle on each nail just to avoid a big drip down the stem. Good formula on this one as well. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. I'm pretty sure I did 3 coats for just about all of my pictures though, except for the very end colors, the darker colors. Just because I didn't want any streaks that I couldn't see in person to show up on camera, and I just wasn't expecting lighter colors like this. I mean, not this one, but I guess some of the other pastels in the collection. I wasn't expecting them to be solid 2-coaters, so I just, out of paranoia, added a 3rd coat to my pictures. But doing this and looking at them, most of them are actually pretty good on 2. So that is 2 coats of Pretty Fit. The next polish is called Barre Hopping, and this is a light pastel purple. This one does seem to have a little bit of a pink tone to it, and does that make it lavender? I don't know. I can never remember which offshoots of purple are more on the pink side, and which ones are more on the purple side, and which ones are more on the blue side. But this actually covers pretty well. It's a bit sheer on the first coat, but it's not streaky at all. And really good formula on this one as well. Like, even if I try to make streaks here, I really can't. So this one did dry a bit more sheer than it initially applied, and some of those streaks, those very minor streaks, became a little bit more apparent. On my ring finger, I did do a thicker coat because I was trying to create streaks, but while it was drying, I was holding my phone, and you can kind of see where the polish ran. I don't know if you can tell. It ran down the side and kind of made a little blob there on the side because I had a little bit too much on my nail. So you do want to be careful with this one because it can run. I also Googled lavender, and the Wikipedia page, this is ridiculous. It says that the term lavender may be used in general to apply to a wide range of pale, light medium, or grayish purple colors, as well as pale, light pinkish, magenta, or purple colors, as well as pale or light bluish indigo colors. So there's nobody knows. Like, that's literally every shade of purple that you just described. Okay, anyway, that is 2 coats of Barre Hopping. So the next polish is called At Your Athleisure, and this is a lighter pale blue, little bit robin's egg-ish color. So this one also covers pretty well on that first coat. It's not super streaky, it is a bit sheer. Nothing has impressed me as much as that yellow, but overall these are performing pretty well for lighter pastel colors. You kind of expect them to be sheer and a little bit more difficult to work with. Sorry, I have too much polish here. I'm trying to thin this one out. But so far these have all been really good. I'm anticipating this one drying a bit streakier than it is right now when it's wet, because the last couple have done that, but they're still performing really well. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats for me. This is one that I think you might end up needing 3 just depending on how you apply it. I am getting a lot of polish on my brush though. I need to stop dipping that so far into the bottle. And this one also dries very shiny. So that is 2 coats of At Your Athleisure. The next polish is called Pilates Please, and this is a peachy orange color. This one is also a little bit streaky and a bit sheer on the first coat. I think this is probably the most sheer so far out of all of them. It also is looking like it would very easily run to the sides of the nail. Formula is pretty good. I feel like it's also a little bit thin, but it's not terrible. So this one, I'm going to wait before I call this one. I know I did 3 coats for my pictures, but the first coat was a little bit more sheer than the other polishes so far in this collection, so I might end up needing 3 here as well. It looks pretty opaque. I'm going to call this one good on 2, but it's very, very close for me, so this is definitely going to be a 2 or 3 coater just depending on the person. So that is 2 coats of Pilates Please. The next polish is called Glamletics, and this is a lighter blue. It's a little bit on the periwinkle side, and it does have a pink shimmer, but the pink shimmer is pretty faint even in the bottle. So this one is a bit sheer on that first coat. This one does smell pretty funky. It definitely has that blue smell to it. The shimmer does stand out okay on the nail. It's not super strong, but you can see it glowing in there from certain angles. If you do a thicker coat and then don't hold your nails level while it's drying, I can see where you might have an issue with this shifting on you. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. And on that second coat, it does help that shimmer stand out a little bit, but it's not a really obvious, really strong shimmer. And this one does dry just a smidgen dull, not terrible, but you should be wearing top coat anyway. So that is 2 coats of Glamletics. The next polish is called Get It Right, Get It Bright, and this is a light purple with a kind of gold to pink shifty shimmer in there. I have here Zoya's Leia. I feel like this is Zoya Leia in a purple curly base, if that helps the description at all. So this one is pretty sheer on that first coat. It kind of has to be if you want that shimmer to stand out. And you do want to watch those drips down the stem of the brush. Pretty good formula on this one, though it also applies very evenly. It's sheer, but it's not uneven. So this one is still a bit sheer on that second coat. I can still see my nail line. So this one will need a third, but the color is building up pretty nicely, and that shimmer stands out really well. And this one does dry fairly shiny. You're going to get a little bit of a weird look from the shimmer, though. Not dull, not textured. It will feel smooth. It just won't look entirely smooth. So this one does cover completely in 3 coats. I can see nail line on 2, but I think I'm being a little bit picky with the third coat, just depending on your application and your preference. And this is another polish that I think dries, actually, when I say another, I might be referencing the last video that I filmed. This polish seems to dry a little bit darker than it applies. When I film multiple videos in a row, I tend to use things like another and this one too, and things like that and not remember that the last time I mentioned it was technically not the same video. So that is 3 coats of Get It Right, Get It Bright. The next polish is called Girl on the Glo, and this is a kind of frosty champagne base with little itty bitty tiny holographic micro glitters. So this one is a bit sheer on that first coat. You definitely have some brush strokes throughout that base, but all of the micro glitter that's in there does kind of break up the appearance of them a little bit. Formula on this one is pretty good. I hate this glitter and frosty base thing. I thought we were past this. So this one does cover completely on 2 coats, and it does dry down a little less offensively than it looks when it's wet. The brush strokes that are in there go away, and the base itself just looks a little less frosty. This does dry a bit textured, so you will definitely want top coat to smooth it out. And looking really closely at those glitters now, I don't think they're actually holographic. They are very sparkly, but when I look close, I don't see any rainbow. So I think they're just regular silver micro glitter. So that is 2 coats of Girl on the Glo. The next polish is called Athletic Chic, and this is a bright coral color. This one is a little bit sheer on that first coat. It does seem to cover pretty evenly. And almost looks not quite jelly-ish, but slightly. Like a little bit of a crelly kind of look. And good formula on this one as well. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. I could see where you would need 3, just depending on your application, but I don't think that's super likely. And this definitely dries darker than it looks in the bottle. And it also dries very shiny. So that is 2 coats of Athletic Chic. The next polish is called Bodysuit Yourself, and this is a kind of medium pink. This has a pink shimmer to it, but it is really hard to pick up. Oh, you can kind of see it. Just a little bit right there. Really hard to pick up even in the bottle. So this one actually covers really well on that first coat, and you can see, I don't know if you can tell from the swatch, but the shimmer stands out a little bit better on the nail. It's not a contrasting shimmer. It's not something that's really going to pop out, but it does give the polish kind of a glowy look. Formula is good on this one. I was actually expecting this to be a matte, because China Glaze has had at least 1 matte in every collection for at least all of last year. I think it might have even started in the fall of 2016, but this one is not matte. I was expecting it to be when I first swatched it, but it's normal. So this one does cover completely in 2 coats. This also dries a little bit darker than it applies. And it doesn't dry super shiny, it doesn't dry super dull either, but you're definitely going to want a top coat to make that shimmer stand out as much as possible, because it's already pretty subtle and you do lose a bit once it dries. So that is 2 coats of Bodysuit Yourself. The last polish is called Activewear Don't Care, and this is a kind of medium teal color. So this is a jelly. This is definitely sheer. You can still see my nail line. It covers pretty evenly though. You want to be careful with this one running to the sides of the nail a little bit. Pretty good formula though. It's a little bit on the thin side for me, but it's not terrible. So this one actually builds up pretty well between the first and second coats. I can still see my nail line a little bit, and I do feel like it's going to dry a little bit more sheer than it is right now anyway. So I am going to add a third, but this being such even coverage, even though it is sheer, makes this polish a little bit more versatile because you can use it in nail art and jelly sandwiches as well. So this one does cover completely on 3 coats. I think depending on your application or your preference, you might be able to walk out the door on this one with 2 coats because it did build up pretty nicely between 1 and 2. And this is a jelly, so it dries very shiny. So that is 3 coats of Activewear Don't Care. So Werk It Honey is definitely going to be my favorite. It's not a super unique color, it's just a pastel yellow, but not counting indie brands, from a mainstream brand, this is probably the best performing yellow. I mean, any yellow, let alone it being a pastel yellow, that I've ever used. Like, this just shocked me. Yellows always have such, I mean, just in general, they just have a really irritating formula. Like, they're hard to work with, they're hard to get even, especially lighter ones, but this was perfect, so definitely my favorite. So that is the China Glaze Chic Physique collection for spring 2018. Hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I will talk to you later. Bye.